Hi everybody, welcome to Glow with Grace. I am really excited today to share another unassisted birth story video with you, this time with Victoria Whitehead, who is all the way over in Spain. Hi Victoria.
Hi Angela.
And you're originally from England too, right?
Yeah, I was born in England, but I grew up in Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where, you were from the north of England, you sound like? Or?
Oldham. Yeah.
Well, I don't know where that is.
It's near Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And you now live in Spain with your husband Matthew and your beautiful little 16-month-old boy called Indigo.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, but Indigo came in an unassisted birth 16 months ago.
He did.
So I guess I first connected with you guys some years back when we did an interview on juice feasting. Your husband interviewed me about juice feasting. And then Indigo was born, I guess that must be, I don't know, like 8 or 9 months after Araya, something like that. And and then at one point you guys were doing this huge pilgrimage across the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage in Europe. And somebody sent me a link to you guys doing that walk with your little boy who was like 8 months or something at the time.
6 months, I think.
6 months. Yeah. And I was like, what? They're going on a pilgrimage with their boy. I just couldn't believe it. So then I kind of connected to you guys at that point. And then recently I put up another unassisted birth video on YouTube, and you guys kept popping up on the sidebar saying like our unassisted birth story. And I was like, I didn't know that he came unassisted. So I was really excited, and I wrote to you and you said, yeah, let's do an interview. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Angela. It's unbelievable. Because of the interview that you did with Matthew, then you inspired him to do the juice feast. And we did the juice feast, and it was really grateful that we did the juice feast, because shortly after that I became pregnant with Indigo.
Oh wow.
And then when I became pregnant with Indigo and I was wondering how I was going to do it, what was I going to do, and I phoned my sister, and she had a hospital birth, and I was there with her in the hospital, so I kind of knew how that worked, and I knew I didn't want to do it the way she had done it because they kind of bullied her a lot. And then I saw your videos that you had an unassisted birth, and it opened up like a whole new avenue of options for us. So it was like, wow. So you've really inspired us and given us so much, added so much to our lives. So we're very grateful.
Oh, sweet. Beautiful. So today we want to hear about your birth story with Indigo. So I guess first, take us back there to your pregnancy. You said you'd just done a juice feast and then you got pregnant. How did the pregnancy go?
It was really easy. Well, we were in Spain, so it was beautiful weather, and I just read a lot of books and watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and Matthew kept bringing me smoothies and juices, and it was really nice and simple. But before I got pregnant, Matthew was meditating one day, and he said, Victoria, I had this vision, we're going to have a little boy, and he's going to be called Indigo. So I couldn't argue with that. I mean, about the name. I mean, I couldn't say, oh, we're not. But then shortly after that, I found out I was pregnant, and so then I really couldn't argue with calling him Indigo.
Aww.
Yeah.
And how was it for you in terms of being able to handle greens, especially in the first trimester? Did you have issues with that?
Not really. Not really. I felt there was only like a couple of weeks when I kind of felt nauseous, and I actually stopped taking. I was taking a supplement, a mum and baby supplement, and when I stopped taking that, I stopped feeling nauseous. So I kind of thought that it might have been connected to that rather than the greens, but it could have been connected to anything.
Wow, so you had like no morning sickness and very little nausea.
Yeah, very little. Yeah, I had a really good pregnancy. It was kind of just got Matthew to look after me, I suppose. I just kind of really took advantage of it.
And you guys, I know you're into raw food. How do you eat? You eat totally raw, high raw? What do you eat?
At the beginning of my pregnancy, I was eating all raw, and then it was really cold here because the house we were living in is in Spain, and it's kind of built as a holiday house, and it's not ventilated, and it was just really cold. So come, say, January, I started eating cooked food. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I was still eating very clean cooked food, but yeah, I was eating cooked food as well. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of my pregnancy, I went to Ireland, and my mum was cooking, and she kept making roast food, so that all went down the window.
Oh, he was born in Ireland?
Yeah, we went. We got a ferry over to Ireland.
Oh, wow.
To get. Yeah, but I'm a vegan, and I tend to eat whole foods, but mainly raw. But I still eat cooked food at the minute.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what month was he born in the end?
July.
Okay.
July 6th.
Oh, okay. So he was like a summer baby.
Yeah.
All right. So, what led you guys to choose to birth unassisted? You mentioned the hospital birth with your sister was a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. I was there with my sister, and because I'm a reflexologist, so I did my sister reflexology during her birth, and I just felt they really bullied her. They bullied her to put the thing on where they measure the babies, and then the heart monitor. And then the midwife, she kept saying, "Oh, we can't see the heart rate," and they, because she was a little bit overdue, they insisted on inducing her. And I was just thinking about all those chemicals, and I just thought, I really don't want to have to go through that, or to put my baby through that, because I watched on your channel, I saw Elena Tonetti's videos, and then I started watching her things. I thought, wow, I just want to give him the most gentle entrance into the world that I can, and I want it to be peaceful, and I want it to be warm, and I just want him to feel comfortable and welcomed, and not have all these lights, and I don't know. So that was kind of what we wanted, and then when we saw how you had done it, that kind of made me think, okay, I can do this now, and then I started reading up other books, and we contacted Laura Shanley, and we interviewed her, and then we contacted some other mothers who'd done unassisted births, and we interviewed them, and it was just like getting the confidence up to do it ourselves, just finding out from other people what they did, did anything that they recommended for us.
Wow. So while you were pregnant, did you tell people that you were intending to do an unassisted birth?
Yes, I did. I don't know, I think I was very naive or something. And I made a video on YouTube, and I told everybody, and then I had lots of friends telling me, "Oh, Victoria, what's going to happen? This is really dangerous. I had this birth, and this happened to me." And actually, looking back now, I really shouldn't have told people, because then you just get all this fear, because people are all telling you all their stories of all the things that happened to them, and then that puts pressure on you, because then you're worrying about what might happen to your baby. So what you did was definitely probably the way to go about it.
We didn't tell anyone, in case anyone's watching this and doesn't know, we kept our pregnancy completely secret from everybody. Yeah, I'm always fascinated when you do tell people, like, what kind of reactions you get. Did it feel like anybody was supportive, or it was just all...
No, not really. Just Matthew. I'm very, very lucky that Matthew's a very strong partner, and I knew that I could depend on him. I knew that if we did have an unassisted birth, that he would be there and he would be strong with me. So I knew that because I know I can rely, that made it easier for me, I guess, to make the decision. Okay, I'm going to take on this responsibility, and it was kind of his help helped me.
Wow. And was there like a special reason that you chose to go back to Ireland? Like, for example, is it like not legal to birth like your own in Spain, or you just wanted to be near your mum, or why did you go back to Ireland?
Yeah, I wanted to be near my mum, and I didn't really know the legal situation in Ireland. And I know in the UK you can legally give birth by yourself. A woman can give birth by herself without a doctor or midwife present, and she's just not. Nobody else is allowed to assist her in the birth. If they're not a medical doctor or midwife, they can get into trouble for that. So then I thought,
does that mean they can't even like be in the room, or what does that mean?
Well, I know in the UK in the past, a husband has been tried for being present when his wife gave birth, but that's it only if they find out that he intentionally intended on acting as a doctor or midwife there when you have the child.
Right.
Yeah, but if it happens it happens, you know.
So in Ireland, you didn't know what the rules were?
Yeah, well, Ireland's pretty much the same as the UK. One can't give birth by yourself.
Cool.
So,
and in Spain, do you know how it is in Spain? No?
I don't know what the rules are in Spain. So I just thought, why risk it? And we drove back. We didn't take a plane, so it was okay. It was just a long journey.
Right. Cool. So during your pregnancy, did you have any kind of medical checkups, care, anything like that, or you took care of yourself? How was that?
Well, I went to when I very first found out I was pregnant, I went and got a blood test to find that, just to make sure that I wasn't deficient in anything, and just checked all my minerals and my vitamins, and I found out that I was a little bit low in B12. So then I started supplementing B12, and I think everything else I was okay for. But that was the first blood test I've ever had, so it was kind of interesting for me to get that. And then the rest of the time, I measured my belly, and I read the different books, like the Ina May Gaskin book, and what the midwives would do, and I kind of did that. But I didn't actually go and see a midwife. No.
Nice.
Sure. We'll see.
Wow. And so for the actual birth, when that started to come around, did you guys have like any backup or anything planned, like someone to come in and help you or anything, or were you just totally on your own? How was that?
Well, my mum was in the house during the birth, and if I'd needed it in an emergency, the hospital's only 15 minutes away from our house, so I knew that, and it's a brand new hospital, and we've got really good facilities, so I knew that if I absolutely needed it, we could get there on time. But I didn't actually have any medical professional ready to come in or anything.
Right. So how did it go? Tell us about the birth.
It was, let's see. I woke up one morning, and it was about 3 days before I gave birth. I woke up really early, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I think I went to the bathroom, and I must have released some brine, something or other, and I thought, okay, maybe the baby's coming now. So I was really excited. So I didn't want to go back to bed, so I started cleaning the whole house and just preparing for the baby coming. And I was really excited. And then I went out for a walk in the morning, and I was just, getting really ready for the baby. And then all that day, nothing happened, and I was like, I was kind of really. And then I was worried, because I thought, okay, well, something's happened, and there's no baby, but then towards the end of the day, I started getting contractions. So I thought, but then I was thinking, okay, what about, because something had happened, and I didn't know whether it was my waters had broken or anything. I was thinking, okay, how long can I go with this happening without the baby being born?
Right.
So I was looking up on forums, trying to read what other women had happened to other women, to see if that was normal or whatever, and I can just remember thinking, okay, let's just quickly try and find out what it was, and then someone said, oh yeah, that's normal, it happens to other women. So then I was okay, but I had these really strong contractions, and that night I couldn't even lie down to sleep. It was just really painful. So I couldn't lie on my back, couldn't lie on my side. I was just in so much pain, and I couldn't. So literally in the living room, I had this like bouncing ball, and then I had this seat that I was sitting in, kind of in a weird position. So for 3 nights, the next 3 nights, I didn't actually get any sleep, because I just could not. Well, maybe for 20 minutes I'd like fall asleep sitting up, but I was just non-stop contractions, and I thought, oh my God, is this baby coming?
Wow.
And they didn't seem to be getting closer together, because I know when women go to hospital, once they start getting really close together. So I was thinking, oh dear. And what happened then? And I had a water birthing pool, so I got in that a few times, and I just really relaxed, and I was trying to think, because I remembered that Ina May Gaskin had said that some women, they have really long labours because they're holding on to the baby for some reason, because they've got the issues or whatever that they haven't dealt with. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I don't have any issues. And I just, I I've got this perfect relationship with Matthew now. Everything's fine. I don't have anything that I'm holding on to. Why am I not releasing my baby? Why am I not able to give birth to my baby? What's happening here? And so then I tried to use all the resources that I had. I'd done different personal development courses in the past. So I was tapping, I was doing EFT, and I was asking myself different questions. And then what happened, there was one moment where I think I was doing the EFT and I was asking myself questions, and I realised, I can't remember what happened first now, but I realised that I've been very judgmental of a lot of other women's births, about my sister, of different women who maybe had ended up having C-sections for different reasons, and I actually just burst into tears because I realised that any different thing, that just the slightest twist in fate, and I could be in that hospital the next minute having a C-section. Everything that I didn't want to happen could be happening to me, and there's nothing. So then I realised, okay, I've got to stop being so judgmental now and just let go of all my judgment of everybody else's births. Mm-hmm. And then I did Ho'oponopono, where I said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I focused on the people that I've been judging because I was really judgmental. Wow. And I just sent everybody love and realised that I was creating my reality. Wow. So then I was, releasing the judgment, so that really helped. And then I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and I was peeing, and I had another realisation was that I read in one of Ina May Gaskin's books that some women defecate whilst they're giving birth. Mm-hmm. And every day during the contractions, because I thought the baby was coming, I'd been doing enemas at the beginning of the day to try and help release everything. But I was really afraid that I might poop whilst giving birth. And the very fear of that was actually causing me to hold on to my baby because I didn't want to poop in front of Matthew. Wow. So it was like all these different fears going on in my head, and I was like holding on. And I had this other realization then, that because I went to an all-girls Catholic school, and I was very, very prudish. And I had this vision. I remembered right back to being like 12 years old and in the changing rooms, and I used to put my tracksuit bottoms on underneath my skirt so that I didn't have to take my skirt, and I used to kind of dress like this so that people couldn't, see my underwear. Yeah. And I know a lot of girls, they grow out of that, they leave school, they grow out of it, but for some reason I brought that with me into my adulthood, this prudishness and this fear that I was going to be on the floor and hands and knees on some funny position, and Matthew was going to see me, and it was just so. What I had to do then is I thought, okay, now that I've realised I've got all these fears, now I realise that I don't need to have those anymore because my baby's so much more important than any. So once I kind of could put my priority straight and realise what it was, because when you don't know it's there, you can't clear it. But once you realise what it is, then it's okay. Right. That doesn't matter. That's silly things, and this is the baby is what's most important. Right. And once I kind of realised that, then I stood up and I washed my hands, and it was very shortly after that. It was like on the third day, very shortly after I kind of had all these realisations. I actually felt this. The baby was coming. I can't remember what I felt like. Him moved down or something. I felt something. I can't remember right now what it was. And I said, Matthew, I'm going to have the baby now. And
wow, that's so powerful.
But something, previously I planned to have the baby in the water bath, and I bought this really beautiful water bath pool, and I had been lying in it during the contractions because it really helped. But something said to me, no, you're going to have the baby, and we're going to clear a new space. So I had my mum and Matthew running around cleaning up for me, making a nice space so that I could give birth. And we laid a new mattress down on the floor and put some sheets on it. And I got down on my hands and knees, and I started to push. And Matthew was in the room, and I said, okay, I'm pushing. And Matthew said, Victoria, is your cervix dilated enough? Is your thing dilated enough? And he was asking me all these questions. He was totally in his head, and he was like, should you be pushing right now? And I looked up to him and I said, Matthew, I'm having my baby right now. And I said, I think maybe just leave the room for a minute. So I kind of sent him out because he was just wasn't in the space.
Right.
And just for a few minutes, I was just there, and I pushed a bit more, and it felt so good to push. And because I remember my mum and my sister had been telling me about birth, and my sister says, "Oh, I didn't even really feel I needed to push. The baby just came out. Your body does it naturally. You don't need to like."
Yeah. Right.
And my mum said the same, and so I was kind of expecting, okay, it's just going to happen. But for me, I really felt that I wanted to. There's this sudden thing I really felt in that one moment that I really felt really good to push. And when I did that, I felt his head crown, and then I called Matthew back in. I said, Matthew, I think his head's crowned. So Matthew came in then, and he looked, and he said, yeah. And so he was there, and then Indigo's head came out, and I obviously didn't see his head coming out, but Matthew said basically it kind of looked like a little alien, because it's like this, and like cone shaped, and then next thing it came down, and Matthew saw his eyes and his little nose, and he was like blah 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 blah. And then he came out, and he was like this little eel, and Matthew was really struggling to hold him, and then he passed him to me, and it was just. This was the most magical moment you can experience. A woman can experience. It's like seeing your baby for the first time. So it was wow. And I was just looking at his eyes, and I could see him looking at me, and it just felt like I didn't need to talk to him or anything, because he could understand everything. He could see everything already. So, and it was beautiful. And then I took him into the bedroom, and we cuddled for a while, and I tried to get him to nurse, and that's a whole other side. Yeah, that's the first part. And then we called my mum in to tell her, look, we've had the baby, but that was before I birthed the placenta. Should I continue? Is there anything?
Please,
yeah. I hadn't birthed the placenta yet, and I was just so excited that Indigo had been born, and I wanted my mum to see my baby, that I called my mum in to meet Indigo. And prior to me actually, just after I arrived in Ireland, my mum had been very sick, and she'd been in hospital. She had an ulcer in her stomach that burst, and she lost a lot of blood, and it was so she'd been very sick, and so she was just at home, and she was kind of just recovering when I gave birth. And so when she saw Indigo, and I said I planned on doing the lotus birth like you did, and I thought, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I couldn't get Indigo to latch onto my breast, and I tried, and my sister then, my mum phoned my sister, and my sister came round, and I went from being really prudish to all of a sudden having my mum, my sister, and Matthew all squeezing at my nipple, trying to get Indigo to feed. So that was that happening, and then we tried different squats, and I was trying just different exercises to try and get the placenta to birth, and it wasn't happening, and I was holding Indigo, and my mum was just so worried, and just kept saying, oh, it's so short. I forgot to mention when Indigo was being born, after his head came out, Matthew had this thought check, because his head it came out, and then it didn't come any further, and Matthew had this thought check for the cord around his neck, and he checked, and he thought, oh no, it's nothing there, and then somebody said to him, check again. So he put his hand in, and actually Indigo, the cord was like 3 times around his neck.
Oh my goodness.
And Matthew unravelled it, and then as soon as he unravelled it, Indigo was born. Wow. But the cord was actually quite short, and so it was causing my mum a lot of concern that I hadn't birthed the placenta yet, and I was holding Indigo, and the cord was short, and she was worried that I might move suddenly, and it might tug on it and hurt him or something, and so it was causing my mum a lot of stress. But I had this idea in my head. I really wanted him to have the cord blood, because I knew how good it is for him, how important it is for him to have those T cells. So what happened? Let's see. well, it went for 12 hours. We got some rest. We did different things, and then we decided we were just resting, and I was holding him. And eventually, it came that he wasn't feeding, and so after 12 hours, but just because it was upsetting my mum so much, I could see it was causing her stress. We decided that we would cut the cord. So Matthew cut the cord, and we tied a little bit of string around it, and then shortly, it wasn't long after that, Indigo did actually start feeding then, and when he started feeding, I started releasing a lot of blood. There was no contractions though to birth the placenta, but I was losing a lot of blood, and Matthew's brother had sent me an article about this home birther who died in Australia, and she had a midwife with her. And because this was in my head, I thought, because I have this ideology of how I want to have my baby, I'm not going to let myself die now because of this idea that I have that I want to do it all myself.
Right.
So I waited another 12 hours. So it was maybe 48 hours. I can't remember exactly what time it was, maybe 2 days later. I waited about 2 days, and the placenta still hadn't birthed. And I kept remember Laura Shanley saying a couple in Spain didn't birth their placenta for another 4 days.
Yeah.
And I had that in my head. I thought, you could wait 4 days. But just pressure. When you've got other people that you've introduced into the situation, they start worrying, and then... Yeah. So I went into hospital to get the placenta removed.
Wow. How was that?
Yeah. Well, when I first went, because I phoned them up and I said we'd let them know that we were coming in, and then we went in, and as soon as they saw us, they were more interested to have a look at Indigo. Who's this baby? Why was he born in hospital? Where is he birthed? And everything. But actually, it must have been at least 2 days later, because they kept looking. They looked at his umbilical cord, and it had like started to dry up already, and it looked really good, and they had never seen that before, because usually in the hospital when they cut them immediately, they just start going all like sometimes they have to put ointment on them and stuff, because they can go all, what's it called, you know what I mean, they can get infected, or they just go a bit gooey. But Indigo's had dried really well, and it just looked really pretty. So they were they didn't believe me when he was born, and then they kept asking me questions, and they were really is she telling the truth? And so that's that. And when I went into hospital, the woman said, okay, what we normally do is we give you, put you under general anaesthetic, and we try to take it out manually. And if we can't take it out manually, then then we'll give you a C-section. We'll take it out that way.
Oh, man.
The doctor and I thought, don't give me general anaesthetic no matter what. Whatever happens, I've got a really high pain threshold. Please don't put me under general anaesthetic. Just let me. I'll bear it. I don't mind a bit of pain. I said, just to take the placenta out. And the woman says, oh well, we don't usually do that, but we're switching shifts, because in the UK the doctors all work in shifts, and so there's a new doctor came in the morning time. So all night they have me blowing in a bottle whilst breastfeeding, trying to, apparently that can help bring the placenta down, but it still didn't happen. And then in the morning, when the new doctors came in, it was such a relief. These 3 doctors came in, and the head doctor was the most beautiful Ethiopian woman, and I saw her, and I just felt relief, because she was just, when someone walks into the room and you can see they just have a really good, beautiful energy, and she walked in and I thought, I'm going to be okay. Aww. And she came up to me and she said, okay, I hear you have a high pain threshold. And I said, yeah. She said, okay, we don't normally do this, but we're going to try it. I'll try to take it out manually, and if I can't take it out manually, then we'll have to put you under general anaesthetic. So I said, okay. But they gave you the gas and air, so I took the gas and air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was pretty amazing, because it was pretty amazing. But I had the gas and air, and then she took it out, and they couldn't believe that I didn't make any noise when I took it out. But I didn't make any noise during the birth either, because I really liked that the theory of I just wanted Indigo to come in, I don't know, into quiet, and I like can't remember the people that do that, but Tom Cruise people.
Scientologists.
Scientologists, and they have quiet births. I really like that idea. So I birthed Indigo quietly, and then they took the placenta out quietly, and they'd never experienced that before. So the doctors were kind of really bemused that I didn't make any noise while she was taking this out, and I wasn't on any drugs, and so that was that. And then she talked to us the next day, and she came up and she said, part of us is really angry with you that you had the birth at home, and part of us is like, wow, we really can't believe that you had birthed this beautiful, healthy baby all by yourself, and he's perfect, he's really healthy, and it all worked out. And with the placenta, there was another woman who she worked with on the same day as me, straight after me. She went to, and this other woman had actually given birth in hospital, and she had exactly the same thing with her placenta had stuck. And so whether I birthed at home or in hospital, there might not necessarily been anything I could have done about it. And that woman, she tried to take hers out without giving her, because she'd done it with me, she tried to do it with her. And she couldn't even touch that woman's legs, not even her knee, and the woman was screaming, it was so painful. So she put that woman under general anaesthetic, and that woman, I can't remember what happened, but it wasn't a very good situation in the end, and she was kind of really happy that she had seen that it could be done without the general anaesthetic, because it kind of changed the doctor's perception of what was possible, because I don't think she'd ever seen anyone who'd had the placenta in that long before. She had this belief that your body starts closing up, but actually it doesn't. So it kind of changed her beliefs around what was possible. So then I thought sometimes things happen for a reason, so that you can help other people have different experiences.
Sure, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So it seems like it was still attached to the womb wall. It was like just totally.
Yeah, it seems like it was actually stuck.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, because I'll never know for certain, but that's what she said. It was kind of like stuck. So then I'm kind of thinking, why was my placenta stuck to the womb wall? So, and I read there's a book, I think it's by Robin Lim, and she talks about sticky placentas and people not eating organic food. And then I'm thinking, maybe if I had another child, I'd eat as much organic as possible, if not all organic, just because you just don't know. But I did eat a lot of organic, and I was trying to be healthy, but it's there always in the back of my mind what caused it.
Right. Wow, amazing. And so then after that episode in the hospital, then everything was done, and you just go home and get on with your life with your little boy.
Well, almost. So what happened is, because we're in the UK and because we had this baby and we didn't tell anybody that we were doing it, then we had the social services came to see us, because they want to make sure that you are, I mean, it's okay, I'm happy that they came, because they're just looking after people, and they want to make sure that you're a responsible parent, not that you just couldn't be bothered and you just give birth at home, but actually that you consciously decided, okay, I'm going to give birth at home because I want my child to have a gentle start in life. So they came and they asked us lots of questions, and they put you on a list of people to keep an eye on if anything else happens for the next 7 years. But I mean, literally, they came and they asked us some questions, and they closed the case immediately. So if anybody else out there has a baby in the UK and they're thinking about it, it's okay. They don't mind, so long as you're open with them and you tell them the truth, and you just kind of, they know that you're a responsible person, and it's not that you just didn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just want to make sure that the child is going to a good home, I guess.
And then it was easy to like register him and get birth certificate and stuff. That wasn't an issue either.
No, I think so long as a midwife sees your child, even if you don't end up going into hospital, but it's what I had planned to do, if everything had gone exactly as I perfectly planned it, was have a week with Indigo where we had just mum and baby time, and then after the week, call the midwife in to have a look at the baby, and then tell them the date. And then once the midwife's seen the baby, they'll register it, and then they'll give you a certificate, and then you can go and, or they'll give you pay what you need from the hospital, and then you can go and register the baby. So there's no problem registering the child if you want to do that, yeah.
Cool. So in terms of vaccines, did he receive any?
No. He didn't. I didn't even. When I was in the hospital, because I had ended up having to go in, they wanted to give him the vitamin K shot, and I had read somewhere that if you take the vitamin K shot, you're more likely to contract childhood leukemia than you are of actually getting a hemorrhage, because they give you the vitamin K to stop you from hemorrhaging. And so I thought, well, I'd rather not take that risk. I mean, I know that there's I know they've done studies since then and they've said that it doesn't, but there's still that one in the back that said that it did, so that's on my mind. So then I didn't take any vaccines or even vitamin K. Yeah.
And I'm assuming the answer to this is no, but just to ask, was he circumcised?
No.
No. I mean, yeah, for anyone who's watching this who's not familiar with the UK, that's just not something that happens usually. But in North America, it's crazily common, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, well, I forgot to ask you this before. Was he in the optimal birthing position when he came down?
Yes, he was. It was in the perfect position. I wasn't actually able to tell because, when you feel your body, I think my placenta was on the front rather than, I don't know, but for whatever reason I couldn't feel what way round he was.
Right.
And I emailed a friend of mine and she says, oh, there's a website called spinningbabies.com, and it's given me lots of, I was doing different exercises where I was, on the sofa, leaning down, doing different yoga positions, and I did all that, and but I didn't know right up until he was born that everything was fine.
Wow.
But it was fine.
Wow, amazing.
Sometimes I think you just got to trust.
Yeah.
And, take that leap of faith.
How were you born yourself?
Well, my father's mother was a midwife.
Oh, wow.
My poor mother. I was birthed in hospital, but my father's mother was the midwife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but it was. I think it was a pretty easy birth. I asked my mom, and she said there was no problems. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And so for yourself, if you come to birthing again at some point, do you feel like you would choose unassisted again at this point?
Definitely. I definitely would. The only things I would do different is I probably wouldn't be in such a rush to tell everybody that I was doing it, and I wouldn't go out and tell my mom or somebody else who wasn't in the birthing situation with me that I'd given birth until after the placenta was born. But again, I don't know if that would have made any difference anyway, because the placenta may have been stuck to my inside, in which case it wouldn't have been made any difference.
Right.
So.
Wow.
But it's just, never know.
How do people usually react now that you have your son here? Like, how do they usually react when you tell them that you birthed unassisted? Or do you not tell people?
Well, tell some people. I think most people women like to share their birthing stories, and it's actually, if I was to name, say 10 of my friends, about 9 of them have had C-sections for various reasons. And I know in the UK they said that the C-section rate is something like 20-something%. But when I look at women my age, my friends, most of them have had C-sections. So I don't, for me, thinking about, had I been in the hospital with my contractions for 3 days, would they have let me continue and have my baby? I'm just kind of, I think just maybe a lot of more babies would be born naturally if we just even give women an extra week to give birth without thinking of these dates that they have to set, that the baby has to be born by.
Yeah, I see so much fear energy around that, like the dates and the timings and the numbers, and it's incredible to me how little trust there is in the process. It seems like for so many people, that your body knows what to do, and it's the baby knows what to do. It's all about the baby. The baby chooses when to come,
Yeah.
if you let it.
That's it. We just have to kind of get ourselves out of the way and let the baby do their thing.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching this and maybe they're pregnant or they're thinking they might have a baby at some point and maybe they would like to choose unassisted birthing, what kind of guidance do you think you would give to someone to have a successful and flowing unassisted birth?
I think just definitely look into Elena Tonetti's thing, because her video is beautiful. I must have watched that at least 12 times during my pregnancy, because even more than that, I just watched it again and again, because it just gives you so much belief in birth, because you see these beautiful, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's a documentary on birth, and it basically shows you these Russian women giving birth, and it just looks so beautiful, so natural, and it gives you faith in the birthing process.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just trust in yourself, in your body, and your body's natural innate ability, and you know, if there is any, if you have got any. Hello.
Oh no. Hi. You want to come and see Victoria? She's talking about her baby, when her baby was born.
Hello, beautiful. Hello.
Yeah. Shall we have some mama? Can we let Victoria finish telling her story?
Hello, beautiful.
Esther? Yeah. Well, Victoria's going to tell us a little bit more, yeah? And then we read the book. Okay.
Yeah, I think just trust in your body, and if you have any concerns about anything, to clear those concerns before you gets close to the birth. So if it's anything, say it's a relationship issues, or you're worried about, you know, just kind of talk that through with your partner and try to make sure that you feel good before you go into giving birth.
Right.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to be able to be relaxed when you're giving birth, and you know, feel comfortable with the people that you're giving birth with. So choose people to birth with, to labour with, that don't have a fear of birth, that aren't going to bring any fears into your birthing space.
Right.
Yeah, choose people who are going to you know, give you your space, and also you know, give you support. Yeah.
Yeah. Great words of guidance. So, if people want to find you online, I'm guessing the best place is probably all the videos that you guys share on YouTube. You guys have a ton of videos on your channel. So it's Be Your Potential.
Yeah.
That's your channel on YouTube. And what kind of things do you share on there?
Well, it's mainly Matthew actually at the minute, because yeah, don't get much chance at the minute. But so sometimes we just, whatever we're doing in our lives. So we videoed our juice feast when we did that. We videoed our we did a pilgrimage from one side of Spain to the other, and we videoed that
with your 6-month-old child, which is just like.
Well, what we actually realised was that was the best time to do it, because then he wants to be attached to me all the time, and he wants to be cuddled and close, and I can feed him when I'm walking, and it was perfect. If I couldn't possibly do it now, because now he wants running around all the time. And so even though it seems like he was really young, it was actually the perfect time to do it, because he needed to be close to me anyway. And so it was really, we're very lucky that it just happened at that time. What else? Matthew does different challenges just to show people what's possible, and he does different things, like he'll work on his muscles, or you know, that kind of thing. So
he does all kinds of personal development kind of stuff, right?
And he also does a lot of personal development. Yeah.
Cool. So Be Your Potential on YouTube. You can check the guys out there. Thank you so much, Victoria, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Angela.
It's beautiful. I'm sure it's super inspiring for people to hear. You can do it yourself if that's what you choose, and you prepare yourself well, and you know, everything lines up. So congratulations. And,
thank you very much.
He's such a beautiful little boy. I'm really thrilled for you guys. So
thank you.
All right, there we go, everybody. Another beautiful unassisted birth video, and we'll see you next time. Ta!
Bye.